Stephen, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's look a little bit at what's been happening in Spain and just how significant is that? They're regional banks, but is this likely to cause more European fallout?
I think so, potentially, and I think the negativity that is affecting the European banking sector at the moment has a risk of spreading not only throughout the Eurozone but also globally. If this situation does get out of control, because it is a sovereign debt crisis, you are talking about a situation that could be like Lehman Brothers ×5 or even ×10, and that's because it's a sovereign debt crisis. So on the first hand, it doesn't just involve liquidity risks; it also involves solvency risks, and you don't just avoid an asset class like subprime and the banks that are exposed to subprime. You avoid entire countries and the banks within those countries. But then what tends to happen is that the foreign banks, the foreign commercial banks that have exposures to these weak countries, they get avoided too. They lose access to market financing, and so it becomes a self-fulfilling, spreading crisis. And we're very close to that scenario right now. This is moving beyond the scope of just a weak euro. It is becoming a global phenomenon and a global issue.
Stephen, this sounds extremely serious. What would you expect governments, or is there anything that they can do to avert this crisis? I mean, what happens next?
Governments are part of the problem, Andrea. That's why it's a sovereign debt crisis, and that's why it's infinitely more catastrophic if it starts to snowball. I mean, what we're seeing right now with the European banking system is that foreign investors and foreign central banks that normally keep monies on deposit with the European commercial banking system, they're circumventing it almost entirely. They're going right for the central banks or right for the government debt markets. That's why we have that huge safe haven bid into U.S. treasuries, into German Bund market. These banks are losing access to market financing. They're scrambling to raise dollars. And so we're seeing a lot of dollar strength as well.
And we're also seeing euro weakness. Would you expect the euro to continue to slide?
I think if the speculators are going to take this down lower into the mid-teens against the dollar, I think it's going to happen within a matter of hours, if not hours, then sessions, certainly, yes.
And where for the dollar? Because obviously, also with tension in North Korea, the dollar seems to be a fairly safe haven at the moment.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think, the safe haven bid is likely to be exacerbated by any geopolitical tensions that mount.
And as for gold, gold is also increasing, obviously, at the moment. Again, is that because of everything else that's going on, including what's happening in North Korea?
It's symbolic of the general tensions within the market. And I think, there will probably be some difficulty to make straight upside in the gold price, because there are going to be fears of selling to raise money for margin calls, et cetera, if the deleveraging continues. But yeah, gold is being favored in all currency terms at the moment, certainly.
Thank you very much indeed, Stephen.